بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين هو الذي خلق الإنسان من طين وأخرجه من الظلمات إلى النور فنحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره نؤمن به ونتوكل عليه نعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد قال الله في القرآن الكريم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتون إلا وأنتم مسلمون وأيضا في القرآن الكريم يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله ولرسوله إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم وأعلموا أن الله يحول بين المرء والقلب وإنه إليه تحشرون. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, we witness that there's only one God. We give all praise and thanks to Him. As we say, as you just heard from the Mu'adhin, Allah is Akbar. Allah is bigger. Allah is greater. Allah is more important than anything and everything. Whether we shape it with our hands or whether we shape it with our vast imagination, He is bigger. Yet He doesn't increase. He doesn't diminish. He stays as He is at this very moment, and He will always be one who cannot be affected by change, but yet He created change. He is one who cannot be affected by time, yet He created time. He is one that cannot be affected by space because He also has created space. Space changes and always changes and expands, but Allah Ta'ala, He does not change. Space depends on what's there. It can be weakened, but Allah is never weakened. Allah is independent of what is there. Everything depends on Allah, even space itself. And while space is present everywhere and is all around us and we cannot escape space, Allah wants us to know that He is even more present than it, space itself. So though His presence is everywhere, though His presence is in every living thing, Allah Ta'ala, the Most High, He cannot be contained. The whole universe, as vast as it is and as big as it is too small to contain Him. You know, scientists are saying they've discovered, we have less than 10 planets in our system. They've discovered close to 800 planets in many other systems. And they said among those, they have 100 that have almost the same dynamics as Earth, but they're just so far away. And they say it's too much, it's too vast. Allah said He's bigger than all, and none of that, as big as it is, He created it all. That He creates cannot contain that creates. That He creates cannot contain that creates. And so likewise is Allah's knowledge. His knowledge is vast and is also without limit. So that tells every man and every woman that we can never know it all. You see, He said He is El Alim. But Allah says that everyone can come to know of the all-knowing. And what we come to know is that nothing can penetrate His oneness, that nothing can penetrate His wholeness, that nothing can penetrate the unity of Allah. There's nothing outside of Himself that can come into Himself. And Allah, His unity, He stays protected, stays preserved, stays pure. And He will always be Allah, the all-knowing, all-complete, the Creator, indebted to nothing and indebted to no one, and needing absolutely nothing from the outside. Everything else, brothers and sisters, that He creates, that He brings into being, it has to depend on something from the outside. And nothing comes into being, nothing comes into existence without the power, without the order, or without the permission, the will of Allah. Everything, whether it be something small or something great, whether it be good or evil, whether it be beneficial or harmful, whether it be true or false, whether it be known or unknown to us, sinful or virtuous, it only occurs by Allah's permission, by His will. And whatever Allah wills, it comes to be. And if Allah doesn't will it, it's just simple. The answer is simple. It's not going to exist. It's not going to exist. So though we say He, we must know also, brothers and sisters, that Allah, He is not a male and He is not a female. For there's nothing like Him in the creation. And He is not like anything in the creation. He's unique. Cannot be divided. Cannot be measured. He said, Wahdahu. He's unparalleled. Unparalleled. This is Allah. He's one. This is the central idea in Al-Islam. And this is also the central idea in the creation. This unity, this oneness, this tawheed, you know. It's the essence of Islamic teachings. It's the essence of Islamic life. And Allah lets us see that it's in the kalimat. It's in our creed. One. Our God is one. This creation, this whole creation that we just spoke about, it has one system. One universal system. One systemic whole. We say universal. Even in the word universal, we can say uni meaning one. Verse meaning communication. And we know that's where universities get the name from, you know, because they draw from Allah's creation. You see? So they call themselves universities. And they put it and categorize the knowledge that comes from the creation that Allah put here in the skies and on the earth. And then they package it. But they fail to give the credit to the one who created it. So one universal message to what? Universal to the soul. It's one soul. Nafsin wahida. One message that God is communicating to the soul that everybody is created from, you know. The whole creation, the sky, the earth, everything that's above us, you see. All of them are held together, not by two laws, not by three laws, no, but by one universal law. You see, this has all been tested. You're a blessed man to come into the scientific mind to discover this one universal law. The skies above and the earth that we're on right now, they all have the same elements in common. The same thing that's out there, the same thing is in here, you see. And that's what makes up our Constitution. They found that there is, on the periodic table, 100 or so elements. And Allah will every now and then bless something to come from way up in the sky. And then to bless the scientific mind to study that came from the sky. And they see the same thing that's out there is in your own being, right in you. Zinc, carbon, all that stuff right in you. Iron, everything is right in you that's out there, and everything else is also in you. You see? So Allah talks about what's in the heavenly bodies is also here on the earth. One creation of elements. You see? So this is one universe. It's the existence of whole. So all of this, when we look at this oneness, it tells us by reason of our intellect now. We're the only ones that can come to this conclusion. You see? The other creatures can't come to this conclusion. By reason of our intellect, this tells us that this all was made by one God, one creator, and we call him Allah. Allah says in the Quran, خَلَقَ السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بِالْحَقِّ وَصَوَّرَكُمْ فَأَحْسَنَ صُوَرَكُمْ وَإِلَيْهِ الْمَصِيرُ. Allah is telling us in these communications, these ayats, as they're called in the Quran, He said He is the one who gave us our shape. He is the one who gave us our design. He is the one who gave us our picture. But the word is, sawara is in the singular. He said He is the one who gave it. It's in the singular, see? But for all people. All people are upon one picture. There are no two types of humans. It's only one human, you see. And Allah, He says that, He says, فَأَحْسَنَ صُوَرَكُمْ. And He said, and He made your picture beautiful. He made your picture, the one who created you, brother. The one who created you, sister. He's telling you, He said, He made your picture beautiful. So you don't need nobody to tell you that. Your one who created you told you that. That He made it beautiful. God gave us this one picture, this one design, this one form, and He says that it's from nafsin wahida. It comes from one soul. One soul. So He's giving it to us in the singular to tell us to something that's common for us, this singular picture. And He said this soul, and He said it's excellence. He said that He creates is excellence. We are upon and we have in our very creation excellence. And then Allah tells us that I've given you all of this, so there's no excuse. So then He ends that ayat, that verse, by saying, and to Him is your return. He's giving you all this. You equipped to build upon the excellence and the beauty that I've given to you, each single person. And He said, to me, it's going to be your return. You got to come back to me now and let me know what you've done. You see? How you fared with the life that I've given you, the excellence that I've given you. You see? So He's saying we are many from one. And everything that's in the one is in the many. And then Allah, He also tells in the Quran, He says that I have also made your pictures and I have given you distinction. So He's saying that we're different from each other in our tongues. You know, science also says that man and woman they're 99% the same. And actually 99.1. You see? So Allah said these are really small differences here in our tongue, in our colors. You see? He said He's given us those differences, so now we will get to know each other. We will become acquainted with each other. And not only that, acknowledge each other and respect each other. He said that's why He's given us those differences. He says, Ya ayyuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila li ta'arafu. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. So He's telling us, and we know that these ayahs were in principle in Muhammad's, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his last, what was called his last address. We know he spoke after that, but we're calling his last sermon, his last moments. You know, in his summation, he gave a summation of his works, you know, that he lived to perform in his final address to the community. We call it the Ummah. He focused on and he gave attention to certain matters, to certain issues, certain concerns. And those matters that he gave special attention to was this. We're talking about over 1,400 years ago that he said these things. But these things are very important concerns still today. These things are current. They're on the table. They're in our human life. They affect us, you know. So what are some of the things he addressed? He addressed the quality of human life. He addressed human relationships. You see, he addressed opposition, oppression of material resources. He addressed denying material resources. He addressed inflating property, the possibilities of human oppression, the possibilities of human persecution happening in the land, and the interests over race and ethnicity and nationality. All these things, he was addressing these concerns that affect humanity. And we know, in brief, we look at these reflections in light of what we're experiencing in America, yes, the movements, Black Lives Matter, the injustices, the inequality, the suffering, etc., the stuff we're seeing around the world. We look at these things, you know, and what God says and what Allah says and what Muhammad the Prophet taught were the keys. These were the keys to putting an end to this grave injustice, to grave mistreatment, to grave persecution of our people and any people, you know, people who are innocent and upon the innocent life. You know, we were born. All of us are born. Allah lets us know He creates us and He tells us that we are born without a choice. None of us have a choice. None of us had a say before getting in the mother's womb what we wanted to be, what our nationality is going to be, what our ethnicity is going to be, what our race is going to be. We didn't have no choice. We weren't even asked in the matter, you see. So we can't choose race. We can't choose that. You see, we see people now are trying to change the Constitution, their Constitution. But these are things God said you can't change. But all of these things, Allah wants us to know that they are upon the primary pattern that He created every single human being. You see, so we should never get caught up on what we see. To us, these are the small differences. The things we see are really the small differences, the shades of colors. You see, the accents in the tongues, the different language. These are all small differences in terms of what He has given us. We are born according to His plan. And we are born according to His plan for the creation and for the human family on earth, which is where He put us, you see. So we're born Africans. We're born African Americans. You know, we know even in this country, African Americans, we used to be called Negroes. When we look at the history, and as it's surfacing even now, so, you know, the ruling order at the time, they ruled that the black skin, just having black skin, they said it's a crime. To be black was a crime. You know, this was the white supremacist mind in the society that was permeating, you know. We still see signs of that now. You know, people saying, got signs up and bumper stickers saying it's the White House. Just these illusions, these things they're saying to let you know this is some place for just whites only. And we do know that it was changed in the history to suggest that at some time. But they're saying that, you know, you were born with a crime on you. Just by the shade of your skin, you see. And your crime is that you're black. This is what this society once supported. It actually upheld that in this society, you know. Africans are our descendants, you know, that's what was said about us. But we should, as Muslims, We're Muslims. We should understand that as such, and as believers in God, we can never accept that anybody, no matter what their shade, no matter what their race, no matter what their nationality, we cannot accept that anybody is born inferior to another person who was born. We can't accept it. We can't endorse that. We can't get on that bandwagon at all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He creates all babies. Every single baby that comes here ala sawah, on the basis of equality. You see? And we know when they get in the world, you see, when they come into the world, then it's decided. You see? But God brings them all here on the basis of equality. They're born equal. They cry in the very same language. They took mothers to a nursery, diverse nursery, with diverse mothers, and they had them turn their backs and listen and see if they could tell which baby was theirs from the cry, just from the cry. And these are mothers who heard their babies cry many times. But when they came down to it, they couldn't identify it. All of them were wrong when they tried to say, this is mine. All of them were wrong. All of them were crying basically in the same language. When we come here, the babies, they smile. It's a universal smile. We can identify with its beauty. We speak, it draws us, it makes us endeared to just to see a baby smile. It's a universal, and it gives a universal connection to our soul. They laugh in the same language. You see? So here's Allah speaking to us about how we come here. This is how we come here first. Everything else is upon that. You see? Do you think that a child that's born in Russia is going to speak Japanese or going to cry in Japanese? No. No, the cries are all universal. In fact, they're saying that you can take a Japanese baby born to Japanese parents and put them in Russia, and they won't know no Japanese. They speak Russian because they're not aware of any of those things that come later. They're only aware of the first nature, the first life, which is the human life. You see, they're not even aware of their names. In America, not like some other societies, we name babies before they're even born. But the child is not that yet. They don't know that. They come into that later. You see, Muhammad the Prophet said that everybody born. He's saying the same thing that Allah is saying. He just put it there. He said everybody born is born a Muslim. You know, there's nature that submits automatically and automatically obeys that the Lord has given and created it upon. You see? And this is a high expression for human. We all come here human. You see? So it's Muslim is just a high expression for that. He's saying exactly the same thing. You see? So crying, Allah, He mentions in the Quran. Very beautiful book. The last revelation. Very beautiful book. He mentions crying. And he says that He is the one who gave you laughter and tears. Allah why He had to tell us that? He had to tell us that He is the one who gave us laughter and tears. It means that the nature in you, all of you, was given to you by the one that created you. He wants you to know that. This is a part of the nature that He gave you, and it's universal. We laugh, we cry. And He says it's coming from Him. It's a part of your pattern. So we are all born, and we have the same language at birth. The same language. But then we learn different languages after that, you see? But just because you have a different language don't say that you're better. This is what Allah is saying, that we all start out on the basis of equality. You see? All are born to make and have the same sound. The same sound and have the same nature that wants to obey, that wants to be clean, that wants decency, that wants truthfulness, that wants honesty. And you know, we will hear from you. We will hear from you. All of us we've heard from. If you got stuff on you that wasn't clean, if you relieve yourself of impurities and it's on your body, then you make some noise. You see, all of us made some noise because that's the nature Allah gave us, not to like it, not to like filth, not to like impurities. So if we got a house right now that has a lot of filth around it, trash, impurity, we have gone against the nature that Allah created us upon. And when you go against that nature, that's going to affect your movement in the world. It's going to affect your mind. It's going to affect your thinking. You see? And then it's going to begin to weaken the life. You see? The baby life is able to become strengthened because it rejects those things. You see, at first. But we begin to give ourselves to these things. You see? When that baby comes here, there's no criminal. Nobody's born a criminal. Nobody's born a murderer. Nobody's born a terrorist. Nobody's born with this in their being. You see? So we see that what we're seeing today actually has resulted from something. Something has affected the human. Something has deformed the human, because that's not the form that Allah put us in. And all we have to do is begin to trace back, then begin to look. When they came here equal, now let's start to look at the society. Let's start to look at the environment. Look at those things that begin to shape them, that caused them to become the horrible things that we see happening from those who came here as humans. They came here as humans. And now some are doing things that degrade human life. Inhumane. We have to call them animals. Actually, we can't even call them animals. We have to say beasts, monsters or something, because they're not. Animals won't do the things that we see human beings doing right now. You know, we don't find animals just killing out of sport. You know, they're doing that to train young, or doing it because of need. Not for the same reason that man has begun to do things for. So God says that it's one universal soul. Nafsin wahida. And this tells us this is evidence. This is evidence of our makeup, you see. And God wants us to be in touch with the original soul that He gave us, because it speaks to us. It speaks to us, and it's a universal language. It speaks to us in universal language that connects us with everybody. And we lose that when we begin to focus on the labels. If you focus on the labels, then you lose the life that's in the soul, you see. And then you begin to give yourself to things that begin to degrade your life. Allah puts sensitivity in the soul, you know. And Allah wants us to know as human beings, He tells us to not only feel good about the soul and feel good about what your label that's upon that soul. He said also be satisfied with it, because He created it. Your soul and the identity that comes after, Allah says, He says, identify with it and be satisfied with it, and to feel good about it, and feel good about your ethnicity, your race. We know the president, initially, he didn't feel comfortable with his identity. He didn't want to call himself Barack. He wanted to call himself Barry, you know. But over time, he began to connect with his name, Barack. And I know he loves saying his name now, Barack, you know, because he know it means blessing. And I know every time he said, God bless America, he know he's saying his name. And he knows it's a message that's saying that America has been blessed, that God has blessed. This is a sign that God has blessed America. To take the one that we just talked about that gave these classifications in society as having a crime by being black in a society, for that one to now lead the society that gave the same very classification, to show how Allah has blessed the society, which is a blessing for the world, because it's international. It's the youngest. And we know that. We thank Allah for that. So we have to believe in the oneness of Allah, the oneness of God. And that is the one focus and the one purpose for every life, you see, to connect back with that one God that created that life. You know, Allah tells us in the Quran, He says that seek to obey the one that created you. He said, because He's close to you, and He stays close to you. And He said, not only seek to obey the one, He said, you should also, when you obey, you should enjoy being obedient. You should love being obedient. He said it should be a pleasure for you. You see? Because when it's a pleasure for you, then Allah, He begins to call to you. He says, Ya ayyuhan nafsun mutma'inna. He calls to you, that soul now that's not only obedient, but also satisfied and pleased. He says, oh, you soul who is satisfied, who has pleasure, return to your Lord. And then He says, radiyatan mardiyah. Oh, soul pleased. You see? So it has to be a pleasure. You have to be pleased with what you're doing. You can't say, I'm doing this because Allah ordered me, but I don't like it. No, you're not the one He's speaking to right now. When it's your pleasure to be with Allah, to be within the confines of things that He approves, don't you know that you have Allah with you? He stays with you. He never leaves you. He's so close to you, you know. Allah, He said He's in you. He gives us expression, let us know He's in you. Yet He's far away from you as the furthest star in the universe. We talked about how vast it is. He's that close, but yet He's that far from you, all at the same time. At the same time. And He says, وَإِذَا سَأَلْكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. He said, when His servants ask about Him, He said, tell them, I'm close. Verily, I am close. I am Khateeb. He says, Ujibu o dawa'ata da'a idha da'ani. He said he listens. This is the one who created you. He said he hears, he listens, he responds to the supplication, the prayer, the dua. This is it. This is dua of everyone who calls on him, everyone who offers a dua to him. He said he hears it. He said, فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّكُمْ يَرْشَدُونَ. So he said, because he's doing it as a consequence, you should also respond to him because he's responding to you. He's listening to you. He hear your call and responding. So he said, let you respond to him and believe in him. And so you'll be guided. You'll be guided. You'll stay right. You'll stay right. And then Allah, he tells us, he also says that, وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبِلِ الْوَرِيدِ. He says that he is closer. Aqrabu. This is Kareeb, but now with the ER. Closer to you than your jugular vein. So how we cannot say that Allah is not in us? The jugular vein is in the body. Allah is saying that he's closer to you than the very artery, your life, the vessel, the thing that sends the blood traveling between the heart and the head. You see, this is he says that it keeps you alive. All of these veins, all of these vessels between the head and the heart. He said he's that close. The one that created you, he's that close to you. But again, at the same time, as far as you can imagine him being away from you, he said, listen to him. And then he says wa'alimu, and know. He says, first of all, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu astajibu lillahi wa lirasulihi idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. Yeah, ayyuhalladhina, oh you who believe. Again, he said, astajibu, respond to Allah and to his messenger. Idha da'akum, when he calls you, you call him, he responds. Now he said, when he called you, he said respond. He said he calls you, and he says lima yuhyikum. He only calls you to that that's going to give you life. He calls you to that that's going to give you life. And he says, wa'alamu, and know that Allah yuhawlul bayna mara wal qalbihi wa anahu ilayhi tuhsharun. And he says, and know, and you all should know, this is a certain, you should know that Allah, he says that he is right between the person and their heart. Right between the person and the heart. The man, the mind, right between them and their heart. And this is also, it's just between, he said, respond to Allah. Don't be negligent. Don't be absent-minded. You should know this. Don't be insensitive. Respond. No, respond to Allah and his messenger when they call you to that will give you life. And know that Allah is so close to the human person that this is where he's operating. You can't get away. You can't get away. Understand he's that close, right between you and your heart. So this is the Spirit of God. It hovers. It hovers. You see, he's that close at the same time so far. So this gives us a picture. You see, like they got this hummingbird. He just hovers. You can just, like the helicopter. One of the reasons we got the helicopter, one of the helicopters from. So they're just flying right there, just hovering between the man and his heart. But this means, you see, between the mortal and his heart, Allah is communicating to us. You see, there are two extremes, but he said he's right there, between. He's in the middle. He's in the middle of that. So that's to say that he's between you and your fears for your own life, and also what your heart wants. There are two things. You see, this is the mind. This one wants to be rational, connecting to the physical, to the material. But the heart has so much more in terms of what Allah gave it, because the heart wants to be good. It wants to be right. It's the first thing that's developed in a human being. Upon the process of being developed, the heart develops first. It beats, and it helps everything else. They say actually it's something that's called the primitive heart. Soon as conception is, they say it's a primitive heart starts. And everything comes after that. That's the nucleus. That's the center of everything. The pulse of that goes on. Then obviously you get the current heart, but all that's developed before the brain. The heart is first. So everything God is saying it starts right there first. But he said, but that your mind, that your mortal life, there's a fear for your life. So sometimes you hold back. You hold back, brother. You might hold back, sister, from doing all the good that you can do. You see, because you're doing that because you have fear that you're going to lose something. And mainly you fear that you might lose your life. You might lose something in the world. Something that your mortal life depends on. You see? So God said he's right there in between what your heart wants. And it wants to be right. You see? Your mortal life wants food. And we know people, they sometimes will steal for food. This is a part of mortal life. They'll do things, you know. Food, clothing, these basic things that the mortal life need. You see? But that the heart just want to please God. The heart that God gave you. The heart that God gave me. It just want to please him. And it wants to be upright. And it wants to be decent. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Hear with the ear, H-E-A-R, E-A-R, of the heart. And the heart has both of those words in it. The heart has both of those words in it. And the scientists are now saying that the heart has 40,000 nerve cells in just it alone. The heart, you see. And it indicates that the heart has its own independent nervous system. So it's the brain. It's a brain in the heart. You see, it has an intelligence even in the heart. And it says that the heart has an electromagnetic energy field that's 5,000 times greater than that of the brain. You see? So this is, and they say they can measure this 10 feet away from you. 10 feet away from you. They can measure these electrons. So that's to tell you, like Imam Muhammad was talking about, he said the soul is not just in the body, it's outside the body. So this accounts for why people can feel and sense negative and positive coming from a person as well, because this magnetic field is there. You see that emanates, they've been able to measure it precisely. So they're saying, so this is what Allah said. So we know this is what should lead. The heart. We learn Quran, we say by heart. You see, if you learn it with just the brain, and it doesn't come here, then you are in the category that Muhammad the Prophet said that there's going to come a time when the recitation won't go beneath the throat. It won't reach here. It's just here. It's just here. And we have a lot of people now who are doing some horrific things, who can recite eloquently, but we know it hadn't gotten here because of the things that they're doing. You see, the heart, we learn by heart. When you learn something by heart, it talks about the care. The care. You have to really care and be concerned. This is what the heart represents. Care, concern, love, compassion. You see, that has to go first. And that's where Muhammad the Prophet was, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why Allah put the Quran right there. He didn't put the Quran here. He put it on the heart. And that sent it to this brain. And then we begin to see more movement. You see, but he had what? He cared. He had a concern for his people and the betterment of people. He had a concern for mankind. You see, that's the first thing you have to have before you can get Quran. You can read it, but if you don't have concern for people, you don't have concern for humanity, all it's going to be is just reading that don't go beneath your throat. That's all it'll be. God is telling us how to implement it. And he shows us a picture. When you really submit to God, when we make our sajda, that's the position that now the heart is above the lowest position that we can go to. And we are submitting everything to Allah. Now the heart is above the brain. That is that position called sajda. You see? So Allah, again, he's communicating to us, you see, in this position. You see, just to tell us that if you want to submit to God, if you want to give yourself to God, if that's what you want, brother, if that's what you want, sister, you have to put your heart above your intellect. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. ربنا واجعلنا المسلمين لك ومن ذريات أمة المسلمين لك وتوب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. Oh Allah, we thank you for guiding our hearts. We thank you for guiding our intentions, our lives here in the United States to this path, to this way, al-Islam. We ask Allah for you to keep us on this path and to give us your protection. We ask that you keep our interest for the whole of this religion and that we live it fully in society so that our life will be a testimony, a witness for all other societies of what you want for mankind. Oh Allah, give us light and open our eyes for the light and forgive us our ignorance and our sins against our own life, so that we will have your mercy and a new chance for life and progress. Ameen. Come on to Salah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat, hayya ala salat. Qad qamat as-salat, qad qamat as-salat. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
So we have just some brief announcements immediately following. And we also ask that we do have some journalists who have traveled here, international journalists that we've been speaking with and engaged with, and we have some follow-up to do with them. So we ask that you immediately, if you can let them leave so we can get back. We'll be in the house next door finishing up the session, and then they have to leave very soon. So we ask you not delay them if you can avoid it. And also for those who have to leave, do so quietly so others can hear the announcements. Also try not to disturb those who are making their extra prayers. Are we good in the back? Allahu Akbar. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك وبالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الضالين قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك يا جلال والإكرام لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله يا العظيم ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا وتكوننا من القوم الخاسرين الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Assalamu alaikum. So for the journalists, if any of you have any follow-up questions, we'll be with you in the building next door where we were to answer any follow-up questions that you may have. Any have those questions, we'll meet you there. Please get with Sister Fitcher as well. We want to thank the D.C. Historic Preservation Office of Planning and those who participated and coordinated with the Nation's Mosque in the ceremonial funeral prayer and program for the noted enslaved African Muslim Yaro Mahmoud, who died in 1823. So we thank Allah that we were able to be the ones to oversee that. Those who don't know, he came over on the ship called Elijah in 1752. This Muslim who could read, write, Arabic language, speak well, was a scholar, known. He couldn't practice openly, but he was known. Allah blessed him to become free. And he died in 1823, and he was seen praying in his backyard facing the east. So because Islam wasn't established back then, Allah blessed us to be able to do a ceremonial janazah prayer for our brother last week, while the site is an active site that's open right now with archaeologists that are there. So we thank Allah for blessing us to be able to lead that effort. Dynamic program that brought in the National Historic African American Museum, brought in someone from the mayor's office, someone from the councilperson's office, and other places as well. The archaeologist spoke, and we also had someone there from the National Summit on Nonviolence and others. So we want to thank everybody that participated. The convention that's taking place in Chicago, we're trying to get a table at the dinner, so if anybody's interested, see Brother Albert. If you're interested in sitting at that particular table, see him. Okay, we're continuing the campaign. Actually, it's in motion. The expansion is in motion. Monies have been paid. The architect is moving. Surveys have been done. I got a copy of the survey that's been done. Things are moving. So we don't want the money to stop. So please continue to contribute so we don't have to have a pause in moving forward. We need to be paying for things as they go along. So we need to have the money there to keep paying. So right now we're trying to get $150,000 to take care of phase 2. Phase 1 is complete. We gave the money and they're moving. We get into phase 2. Now, once we get past phase 2, now we're ready to build the project and bring in the people who are going to do the development, and that's a whole nother piece. So make sure we keep moving forward. If you made pledges, pay on your pledges, please. If you haven't made a pledge, if you don't need to make a pledge, please continue to contribute. Make a pledge. But please don't let the money that you pay for this expansion come from your normal zakat or sadaqah, because we still need to have the maintenance, upkeep, and other programs and things that we have going on. We're trying to get to the point where the Southeast project would develop revenue for the community. We don't have major revenue things right now, so we depend on you all to continue contributing to make sure we can sustain the process and programs that we have, the electricity, etc. So don't pull back. We're seeing some pull back and they're investing in the building, but they're pulling back from the other area. We need both. We need both. This is a sacrifice. Those that came before us, they sacrificed to build this building right. I mean, you all, I can't begin to ask you to sacrifice like they've sacrificed. I want to, but you all won't be registered because they gave up everything. I mean, they mortgaged their houses, they did drives, they ate, they reduced themselves to eating soup, chicken soup, whatever, just to get the money to build this building right here. And they're still here. We owe a debt to them. We owe a debt to them to finish what they started. And it was never to be the only building. We were supposed to expand on this building. We're starting to do that now. So it's going to require sacrifice upon the sacrifice that's been made by those who we call pioneers that came before us. Assalamu alaikum.